Well, results for Level 3 2023, the February exam are out, 48% pass rate. So I'll say it now. Congrats to everyone who passed. I will say it a little later on in this video as well. But we can see here at the very bottom of this screen, the February 2023, 14,858 candidates did sit for the exam. 7,100 of them did pass. There'll be 7,100 new charter holders coming up in the next little while. 48% pass rate, down from the pre-pandemic pass rates of the mid 50s all the way back to 2014, 54, 53, 54, 54, 56. But working our way back up from 42% to 43, 49, 48, still sitting a good 5, 6, 7% below the previous pass rates. But this was a paper and pencil exam that was 3 hours, both sessions. Now down to computer-based exam testing, with each session being less time, 2 hours and 15 minutes. And now in the exam you have a mix of questions. It's not one session that's all just structured response and another that's all vignette style. In each session you will get a mix. Structured response followed by vignette followed by structured response. So we do have a 48% pass rate, which still leaves a 52% did not pass rate. At level 1 there is some questions you can ask about whether or not this is even something you want to do. We don't ask that at level 3. If you are at level 3, I know you've passed level 1 and level 2. You have a university education, you have your degree, and you more than likely have some work experience behind you already. Most level 3 candidates, most, not all, most level 3 candidates already are well on their way to fulfilling the experience requirement. So it's not a question of ability, which means you're not going to quit. That's not even an option. At level 1, we debate that. Okay, you didn't make it through level 1. Do you even like this stuff? Is it something you even care to do? Did you even enjoy the process? And if you didn't, maybe, okay, you tried it. Maybe this is not for you. But at level 3, we're not even going to ask that question. The question is not, should I do it again? The question is, when should I do it again? And how should I do it, depending on the number of do not passes you have and how close you got. So let's see if we can do some analysis there. Okay, top of our pyramid here, the February 2023 exam results. This is what I'm going to focus on, the 52% DNP. I don't use the F word on this one. I use did not pass because I think that you didn't fail. And I'll explain that in a second. It's just you did not pass the level 3 exam, possibly because you were trying to write a level 1 or a level 2 exam at level 3. That sounds confusing. So let's look at our breakdown. This is the first time you did not pass. And maybe you can say to yourself, yeah, but I didn't expect to pass. I knew I wasn't going to pass. I didn't put enough time in, and I expected this to happen. And if that is the case, well, then you know what your problem is. There's nothing really much we have to discuss. It's just a matter of, were you close or were you not close? If you were close, make a run for August 2023. Remember, your registration deadline is May 9th. If you were not close, if you were unprepared and you weren't even close, yeah, give yourself a little more time. I'm going to suggest February 2024. Registration here opens May 16th. You get a couple of benefits here. You get more time before you have to write the exam, and it's cheaper. And you can take maybe a month or 2 off and regroup and just enjoy some life until before you get back into it. However, if it is your first time not passing and you think, I don't know what went wrong, I did everything right and I didn't pass, well, I'm going to send you over to the other side here. When we discuss Bloom's taxonomy, maybe there's something there we can work with. Multiple do not passes. This is a bit of an issue. I have come across some candidates where, it's their third or their fourth time and they still didn't make it, which is the curious issue here, because level 1, check. Level 2, check. University education, check. Work experience, most likely check. What's going on here? I can't point to, well, maybe this isn't for you, or maybe, not everybody has the ability to understand, the content here. I can't point to that. There's something else. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be at level 3 if there was something that could have eliminated you at lower levels, at level 1, for example. In thinking about how to sort of deal with that, I have a seminar series that I'm going to do specifically for candidates with multiple DNPs. But I think it might help to understand Bloom's taxonomy of learning, because level 3 really situates the candidate at higher levels of learning. So from the lowest level to the highest level, it's remember, understand, and apply. This is really where level 1 hangs out, because level 1's got a lot of declarative knowledge. You learn a lot of definitions, a lot of introductory formulas to things, a lot of introductory tools that you can use in economics and quant. But if I say, here's the structure of a bond that pays coupons and all the principal at maturity, you'd say, that's a bullet bond. I mean, that you can remember that kind of stuff. It's a lot of declarative knowledge. When you get to level 2, you're not going to get a lot of questions on the exam that just rely on your ability to recall something off the top of your head. It'll be understanding, application, and analysis. So you sort of move up a level. You have to have the ability to sort of start thinking on a higher level, other than just memorizing your way through things. By the time you get to level 3, most of the level 1 learning stuff, at least the style of learning that you would follow for level 1, is just implied in what you're doing, and it really moves up to the higher levels of learning, that the questions really are centered around your ability to analyze, to evaluate, and create. So let me just give you an example of a good question setup for fixed income at level 3 that relies on just the higher levels of learning. Let's say that I give you 5 key rates today at time equals 0, and then I give you those same key rates in the future. And I give you a central bank target rate today, and I give you a central bank target rate in the future. And I ask you to design a curve trade to take advantage of that. Wow. First of all, you're going to have to look at the difference between those two curves. And you're going to have to understand what a key rate is. You're going to have to look at the difference between those two curves, and you're going to have to make some kind of evaluation from your analysis. Are rates going up, or are they going down, or is the curve simply twisting? And if the curve is twisting, well, what do? Well, there's a duration neutral trade. If you have a bull or a bear movement on the curve, then you have to know to take your duration neutral trade and either lean out of duration or lean into duration. So net negative or net positive duration on your curve trade. And then I may give you some futures contracts and you create your trade. Well, that is a lot at the higher levels. You're analyzing, you're evaluating what's going on, and finally creating your trade. I'll tell you this right now, you are not memorizing your way through that question. So if you did very well at level 1 because you got this down, and you did okay at level 2 because you could still get through level 2 with the lower levels of learning, but you're not going to get through level 3 with that. So for the videos that I do at level 3, I do try to incorporate more of that in, more of the nuance of what's going on, more of the application of what's going on. But perhaps I'm not going far enough and I'm not making it overt enough. So I thought, well, let's take the multiple do not passes and let's try something. We're going to try a seminar series, a six session series, each session 2 to 3 hours, and see if I can't, sort of present the material to you in more of a discussion way, not so lecture style. And not going through examples and applications, but really trying to get you to think at those higher levels. And if we can get you studying at these levels, then I think you're okay. Because like I said, you got all the boxes checked. You got level 1 checked. You got level 2. You got the university degree. You got some work experience. There is no reason why you should have multiple DNPs. unless your study strategy still has you stuck at level 1, and it worked for level 1 and it worked for level 2, and you think, let's just keep doing what worked. So let's look at that in a little bit more detail. All right, let's talk about those who did pass. I said I would congratulate you. Here it is. Congrats, job done. Many of you have thanked me on LinkedIn, and that's exactly how I answer you. And there's some thinking that I'm not the one doing it. I answer each and every person. Once a day I sit and I go through all the notifications, maybe more than once a day, 2-3 times a day probably when they first come out. And I try to read everybody's post, and I try to answer everybody that does thank me. I may not get to everybody, but I really do try. This fall we have a charter holder subscription coming out. It'll have within it the applied series. It'll have new readings for each archive you have. So if you've been with us through level 1, level 2, level 3, and you have the archives, and this is 1 year off, which means when we get into 2025, all the 2024 new readings would be updated in your archive. Once we get into 2026, all the 2025s would then be updated, etc. So you'll always have the newest readings that were introduced that you did not have the benefit of being exposed to when you went through. So if there's a reading on, let's say, fixed income, and all it did was it just changed some of the format in that reading, that's not a new reading. But if there's a whole new reading, yeah, then it gets updated in your archive so that you can always be up to date. Plus selected monographs. CFAI does publish different monographs from time to time. There's one that deals with crypto assets. It's fairly long. I think it's worth 4 hours if you read it. It's the equivalent to 4 hours of your continuing education. I'll produce a video around that monograph, so you could just watch the video and get the same effect. And if you're watching the new readings over here and you're going through this, our system will log the amount of hours that you've put in to give you an audit trail for the continuing education that you do. So if it's ever in question that you haven't done any of these continuing education hours, we can prove that you did. Let's get to the did not pass. As I said on the previous screen, your decision is either August or February. If you are registering for August, remember the registration closes May 9th. It's April 20th. That gives you 19 days. And 7 days later, a registration would open for February 2024, May 16th. This new seminar series that I'm doing, it's 6 sessions. Each one is 2 to 3 hours each. It's discussion based, and it targets the analysis and evaluation levels of Bloom's taxonomy. May 29th to July 7th. This is included in your subscription. I haven't really gotten the times, what time of day it's going to be yet, simply because I don't know where people are going to be in the world. As I say over here, the number of streams is uncertain. It's demand dependent. So there'll be a pre-registration. You just have to express your interest. This will at least tell us what zone or what region in the world you're in, so I know what time to put it, so that it's not 3 o'clock in the morning your time. And if they have to be smaller groups, I can't have 100 people in a group. It's unmanageable for what I want to get done, because it is discussion based. So they have to be smaller groups. So there may be multiple streams. So it may not be that I'm just doing 6 sessions at 2 to 3 hours. I may be doing 24 sessions because there are 4 separate streams for different parts of the world, and because demand is there. But I'm going to try to get as many in this as I possibly can. Higher level discussion to match higher level learning, and the priority will be given to, because if we get overwhelmed with too many, well, there's only so many hours in a day that I can do this. We'll have to make some priority. The most DNPs, the most do not passes. So if you've not passed 3 times or 4 times, you're pretty much in. And at least one of those must be with us. So if you've been with one of the other providers and it's your 3rd time or 4th time and you subscribe with us, while it's your first time subscribing with us, even though you would have priority on the most DNPs, you did not have at least one with us. Now, when I say priority is given to at least one with us, that does not mean that you would not get a spot or that you wouldn't be in one of these seminars. It just means that if I'm overwhelmed with requests, it would be in priority on the way down. And if I run out of hours in the day, well, then I run out of hours in the day, right? Okay, we also have a few more support features for level 3 going into the exam. And I have in the past, when I've spoken with candidates that did not pass, just to sort of help them figure out what they could do differently, I do ask them, did you use the drop-in hours that we have for the mock exam or the office hours? And it's quite common the answer was no. I said, well, really, these are there. You should use them. Sometimes you get, I didn't even know I had that. This is part of your subscription. Notice included in subscription, between July 17th and August 5th. These are approximate dates. It might be July 16th to August 6th, July 18th to August 7th. I'm not sure, but it's in between that window. We have multiple office hours going into whatever exams are available. I pretty much hang out at level 3 and do all the level 3 sessions. The three different types of sessions we have tend to be where most of the questions on our site cluster. Economics and asset allocation is a session, derivatives and currency management is a session, and fixed income. And I do 3 sessions for each of these. There are 3 different sessions, and each one I do 3 different times for. And each one is 2 to 3 hours long. So there's lots of extra time in there just before you get into mock exam season to clear any questions you may have about anything in those sections. These are live open Q&A. You ask your question. I have my black screen up as the feed, and I draw on the screen and I draw out the answer. And then we go into structured response live sessions. This is typically if you are more in tune of thinking about the AM type questions. AM is pretty much gone because now you have structured response in both the first session and the second session of the exam. And you may be starting your exam at 1 in the afternoon, so there is no AM session for you. So let's just call it what it is. They're structured response questions, August 7th to August 26th. I think the exams start on August 29th. So all the way up to the end. We do have 5 regular mock exams, so there'll be 2 sessions on each of these 5. Each of these are 2 hours. And what I do with these is we break down the question in terms of the keyword. Okay, here are the keywords that are being asked. Here's how we answer a question with those particular keywords. Justify and determine, justify and explain, identify, the calculate type questions. All of those have a particular type of structure because that's what they're called, structured response. There is a structure to the response. And most people that don't go through this end up answering questions wrong. They think they're essay questions and they answer them like essay questions. You're going to run out of time. So we go through a whole bunch of questions, 5 mock exams, 2 sessions, each of those are 2 hours. Then we have 3 more workshops where we have more mock exam questions, all structured response. So there are more questions and they're longer exams. These are designed to be very close to the 2 hour and 15-minute mark that your first and second session of the exam will be. These tend to have as many marks as would be in what a 3-hour exam would be. So there's 3 of them here. I do 2 sessions on each of these at 3 hours each. There is no shortage of live online support going into the exam, included in your subscription. And the seminar series I'll be doing will be included in the subscription as well, but not everybody may get a spot because, again, I'm going to give priority to those who have the most did not passes, and at least one of them would have been with us. So my recommendation here is go back to the first screen, review that first screen, and determine which of those groups you fall in. Was it your first do not pass, or do you have multiple do not passes? If you have multiple, does what I said speak to you in any way? Are you still, preparing for the exam with a level 1 strategy because it got you through level 1 and level 2, and you haven't really gone to the level 3 requirement when we look at Bloom's taxonomy, the higher levels of learning. And if that's the case, if that speaks to you, well, then you know which pathway you want to take. That's all I got for you today.